Hi guys, it's me again, Ashton, and this video is going to be hard to talk about. It's going to be emotional. Can't promise that I won't cry, and hopefully I can get this out without too much emotion, so that way people will understand loss of any type. In my first encounter with a great loss, I guess not really my first encounter, but one that scared me more than most loss would. So in my last video, I ended it kind of on a cliffhanger of what happened after me and Dustin had been married for a little while. And it was scary and emotional, and all I wanted was my mama. And at this moment, we were a little distant from each other. Not so much, or not only, should I say, in reality of distance, but also emotionally. I had run away, in a sense, from my life in East Texas and had moved far, far away over, I was just under 800 miles from my life, from where I grew up and where my parents had raised me. And it was hard, but it was even worse whenever I found out some news. So just starting in at I hadn't felt real great. What do you got? Sorry, that's my daughter. What do you got? Yeah.
A popsicle.
That's not no popsicle. That's a toy. But we just got married. Seems like it's going great. And then I was sick. And then I was fine. And then I was sick again. And it was just, it was different, like I was saying before. And so I didn't think to go to the doctor. It wasn't that big a deal. Just deal with it. I'm not a big doctor person anyways. Quit.
I need to get this spiral off.
No, go watch TV.
You get this spiral off.
No. So, we are hanging out with some friends, and they're like, hey, there's a concert. It's, crap. It's like $20 a ticket. Okay. It's like $20 a ticket. It's this band that's not very big right now. Quit. And, y'all want to go? I'm like, yeah, sure, fine. Never been to a concert before. Hi.
Hello.
Mommy's doing a video. Can you go watch TV, please? Real quick, I need to apologize. I sniffle a lot in this video because I have a little bit of a cold from allergies, I guess. So just putting it in there.
Hi.
Okay, can you go watch TV now?
No.
Please?
No.
You're gonna do the video with me?
Yeah.
What's your name?
Cameron.
Cameron?
Yes.
You're so cute.
Look at my hair.
Hi, look at your hair. It's crazy today. She doesn't ever let me put it up. Anyways. Hey, this is an important video for Mommy. This is gonna be... Oh yeah, give me a kiss. Give me a kiss. Can you go watch TV now? Go watch TV. Anyways, guys, sorry about this. But you gotta be quiet, okay? Okay?
Let me get a beautiful picture.
A beautiful picture. Okay, we'll take a picture. Say cheese. You gotta get over here. Say cheese. You ruined the picture.
Hmm?
You were supposed to smile.
Cheese.
Now, anyways, going on. So we go to this concert, and I really didn't feel like it after we'd said, and we already bought our ticket. Hey. Really didn't feel like going, but we'd already bought our tickets, and we'd already told our friends we were gonna go. So I get dressed, I get ready. This is when I wore makeup all the time, and so we head out, and we go. And this is in this little tiny bar. Tiny. And okay, hold on. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. She wanted a drink. Anyways, so we go. And I'm not feeling good. So we're in there. We're having a good time. And me and Dustin were underage to drink, so we weren't drinking. So standing there and talking. And they're about to start the actual band. We had listened to some other band, something about turtles. I don't remember. It was funny. We made fun of it for a long time. But if anyone is a Palisades fan, this is the band that we went to see. They had mosh pit. They had all kinds of headbangers and everything like that, and it was fun. It was great. It was enjoyable until right before the band come on, and everybody was down in the mosh pit getting ready for the band. I felt very faint, and I was like, okay, maybe it's my sugar bottom out. So I go to the bar, order a soda. I'm drinking it, and I was like, oh, this is bad. It's not working. Something's wrong. So I sit my drink down on this table and then black out. Somebody takes me over to a couch. I sit down for a minute. They're like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'll be fine. It's just really hot in here. And I felt like I was gonna throw up. So I take off through this crowded bar, running as fast as I can, and I don't run into anybody until I'm right by the door, about to go out the door, and I smack into somebody hard, damn near took the wind out of myself and this other person. He's like, oh, are you okay? Are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'll be fine. I just got to get outside. It's too hot. I'm feeling, faint. Because I forgot to mention this, the guy that I ran into was the lead singer of Palisades. Yeah. Kind of embarrassing. Forgot to say that I went inside to see what was all going on. Maybe I could stand around and actually watch for a few minutes. And I could. And then eventually it started getting bad again, so I went back outside. But whenever I realized who I had ran into, I almost shit my pants. Because the lead singer come outside. He's like, are you okay? I was like, I fainted. Somebody help me get to a couch, blah, blah, blah. I said, honestly, if you want to stay, I'm just going to sit out here for a little bit. He's like, are you sure? I was like, yeah, go enjoy a few songs, and then, after 2 or 3 songs, we need to leave, because I don't feel great. He's like, okay. So he goes back inside, I'm sitting outside. Old guy, that a few minutes later, Dustin comes out, and he's like, that was awesome, I wish you could have been in there doing all that. He said, but you don't feel good, so let's go. So we tell our friends we're leaving, and it just progressively got worse with how I was feeling. So we get down the street and we park somewhere, and we called Dustin's mom, and we asked her, some questions and whatnot, and asked her, why would Ashton feel like this, even though she's over the bacterial viral infection that she had in her stomach. She's like, maybe it's it's hitting her again. I don't know. Then she asks a big question. She's like, is there a possible way that Ashton could be pregnant? We look at each other and I'm like, no, I've been taking birth control. And I was very adamant on my birth control, just so you know, because we wanted to wait, a year or two after we got married before we even tried to have kids, because we wanted to spend time with each other. We wanted to know each other more than we already did, and we wanted to enjoy being married. So she's like, but if you think it's something else, go to the hospital. So we go to the hospital. Now it's kind of funny. We go in, we get checked in, everything. I pee in a cup. I have blood drawn. And then finally, after 3 hours in the waiting room, they finally get me in a room. Then we sit in there for 9-10 hours waiting for a doctor to come in. And we're sitting and we're waiting and we're tired. Doctor comes in finally at, 5 in the morning and says, did you know you were pregnant? Yeah, because I just knew it and just come to the hospital for no reason. Me and Dustin are shocked, looking at each other like, oh my God, we're gonna have a baby. We have mixed emotions. We're scared and happy and don't know what to do, and doctor looks at Dustin and he's like, did you know she was pregnant? He's like, no. And Dustin's sitting there thinking yeah, because she pissed in the toilet. I took a freaking stick, stuck it in the toilet, flushed it because she didn't, because that's not, not normal. And found out before she did. Yeah, because that's fucking logical. And you're like, no, we're shocked. We're excited. We're nervous. We're, so many emotions. And we're like, okay, well, now we have to prepare for a baby. This isn't even this is 2.5, maybe 3 months into our marriage. And we're like, oh my God, He's like, okay, so you just need to call the OB and get an appointment and everything like that. We'll send your labs over. So a week later, we start calling everybody, letting them know, oh, congratulations, you're going to be grandparents. Some were mad, some were excited, some were, a loss of words. It's whatever. It's understandable. I mean, we were 19. It's not super young, but we were young. We'd just gotten married. It was fast. It was. And I was like, how did I get pregnant when I was on birth control? And I was talking to my mom about it. She was like, well, did you take antibiotics? And I was like, excuse me. I was like, yeah, after when I got sick. She's like, at any time were y'all unprotected? And I was like, maybe. I mean, it's very possible, but I'm on a good dose of birth control. She said it doesn't matter. Okay. Yeah. Can you put it together?
I do.
Okay.
Blue ones or black ones.
Okay, we'll put them together. So I was like, oh. Didn't realize that antibiotics would cancel out a birth control pill. Did not even know it. And yeah. Cool. And you know, it happened to me, you know? So they should really make that aware to people when they give you antibiotics. Are you on birth control? If you're on birth control, make sure that you're, you know, very protected when you have, you know, romantic relations, because the possibility of you getting pregnant is very high. Which, I mean, I love my kids, so I wasn't mad or anything about, okay, you know, mad about having a baby. I was excited. Scared out of my mind, but, you know, excited. And, you know, it was different. Something that I actually had wanted a baby or whatever, but we, like I said, we had talked about it and we were going to wait to have a baby. And that wasn't going to happen anymore. But, you know, things happen. And so, come on, Cameron. Get out from under the table. Oh, that's cool. There you go. It's a top. It's a spinner top. And so we got our appointment. I had to have blood drawn again. They wanted to make sure, because I didn't get the appointment for another like week or so. And they're like, okay, we'll come in on this day, blah blah blah. We'll do blood work. We'll do, you know, another UA and check you all out. I was like, okay, sounds good. So we go to the doctor, and I was like 7-8 weeks maybe, and a lot of the time they won't even do a ultrasound on your stomach. They do a vaginal ultrasound to make sure that everything was good, to find a heartbeat. Well, we're looking at the ultrasound, and the ultrasound tech's kind of walking us through before a doctor comes in to make sure that we are understanding everything that the ultrasound tech is telling us. And the ultrasound tech kind of skipped over some things so the doctor could tell us. Well, they're like, okay, well, we see, you know, here's the sac, here's the yolk, you know, we see a little remnants of a heartbeat, and oh, look over here, we have another sac and yolk. I'm like, oh, okay. They're like, and then we kind of just left. I got dressed or whatever, and we went into this room with the doctor, and she counseled us like on, you know, what not to eat, because it was first kid or young, what not to eat. Make sure your diet is this, blah blah blah. We don't want you to gain this much weight. You know, try to stay under this, blah 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 blah. Just the whole spiel. And we are like trying to take as much as we can in, especially after being told that there was 2 sacs and yolks. And I'm freaking out. But we didn't realize till later that only one of these sacs and yolks had a little remnants of a heartbeat. They didn't say anything about it. They didn't, I think because they didn't want to alarm us. Hold on. And I get it. You know, I'm not a doctor. I don't know, you know, what should or shouldn't have happened. I feel like they probably should have talked about it a little bit more, because this is when things take a turn for the worse. My mom had planned to come and see us. Oh, excuse me. Sorry. I'm so stuffed up. My allergies are bad. You know, she had planned to come and see us, and Dustin was going to be leaving to go to Kentucky, or as most people know it, LDAC, for like 3 months or so. And my mom didn't really want me to be alone, and she was going to come and, you know, either try to convince me to go home, but me and Dustin had already talked about it. that it would be, because I didn't know anybody in El Paso, and I was newly pregnant, and my mom had been, had a baby, me. And my cousin was pregnant. We could kind of share the time pregnant together. It'd be a bonding moment between me and my cousin, and then eventually, she was 3 months further along than I was, and she had gone through quite a bit in her pregnancy already, so I felt like it would be more comfortable for me to go home, and Dustin agreed. So we had already planned it, kind of as a secret and a surprise for my mom when she was coming. And so she comes, and we had an ultrasound, another ultrasound ready, and I didn't understand why it was like 2 weeks after the first initial one. I think I was like going to be 10 weeks then. I didn't think anything of it. It's just, I'd never been pregnant, so I didn't know all the protocol and all the things that would be happening in between, every visit. And so my mom comes. We had the appointment for the next day that she was there so she could enjoy it with us. That was kind of another surprise for her. And she brought my cousin, the one that was pregnant. And so we go to the doctor, or technically it was the hospital because that's where all the military people went, spouses and everything, for appointments. So we go, and my mom and Dustin go in the room with me, go in, and another vaginal ultrasound, and they're checking everything out, and they don't say anything. Dustin seen it, but he wasn't sure if it was correct. So they're checking everything, making sure everything was progressing like it was supposed to. And they had told us before that my numbers that they get from pregnant women was doubled. And I was like, okay, so that concurs with the two yolks and sacs. It was twins. So they didn't say anything, but on this ultrasound, we asked for a picture. Just, they're like, we can't. And I was like, why? And they're like, it's too early. A lot of parents our protocol is we don't give out, ultrasound pictures till you're 14 weeks minimum. And I was like, okay. And I didn't think anything of it. My mom was like, that's weird. She said at 10 weeks I had, even though you were just a spot, she's like, okay, whatever. It's just how they do it now. And we go home from my appointment, and everything just went to hell. I'm sitting there in a recliner. We had just eaten lunch. My mom cooked something for lunch, and we're sitting there, and we're just laughing and cutting up, and then I had this sudden, it felt like a gush. I didn't say anything to anybody, and I felt some cramps, and they started getting worse, and I sat there for a really long time because I was scared to move, because I had a feeling of what was happening. And I had wanted a baby, I said that. And I finally got the courage. Anyway, so I finally got up the courage to go. I was like, oh, I'll be back. I gotta go pee. So I go to the bathroom, and I had black shorts on. And I sat down, on the toilet and was scared to death to look at my underwear. Because I knew I was going to see something that I did not want to see. And there it was. It was just... my underwear were white. But they weren't anymore. They were full of blood, and I was terrified. And I'm contemplating on just crying and just forgetting about it at that moment, or yelling out for my mom. And before I could fully think, I just did both. I'm sitting there crying, and then I screamed for my mom. My mom comes in there, she's like, "What? You scared me." I was like, "Call Dustin. Call him and get him here now." She's like, "What?" And by this time, I had taken my pants off and threw them into our laundry that was in the corner, and the underwear into the sink. She's like, at this moment, she looks to her left. Sorry, I had to think. And she's like, "Oh my God, Ashton." And she starts crying, which makes me even more emotional. And then my mom tells my cousin to bring her phone, and they called Dustin. And when you're on post, you can't be on your phone. Well, I kept ring, voicemail, and that happened a few times. And then he was panicked because he'd missed so many phone calls, and he comes inside. My mom is standing at the door, and she's crying, and Dustin's like, "What's wrong?" He runs inside, and she's like, "In the bathroom." She's in the bathroom. I was bleeding so bad, I couldn't move. I was terrified. I didn't want to move because I didn't want it to be real. I didn't want what I knew was happening to be real. I didn't want to experience it. I didn't want to lose my baby. And I knew, my mom told me, and I knew even if we went to the hospital, they couldn't do anything. There was nothing that anyone could do in my state other than maybe send me to a counselor to know that I did nothing wrong, to know that it had nothing to do, because I immediately, first thing I thought was, at this point, I should be able to have an ultrasound on my stomach, not vaginally, and that's what caused this. And, it wasn't. It had nothing to do with any of that. It was just my body saying, "Not today. Not right now." So, because I was so panicked, and Dustin was so panicked, and her friend was so panicked, and my mom, my cousin were all crying. It was emotional. So we go to the hospital, and we tell them what's going on and what we believe is a miscarriage. And they're like, "Okay, well, how much blood have you lost?" And I was like, a lot. Like, a lot. And they're like, "Well, a lot could be a lot less than what we're looking for." I was like, "What do you mean?" They're like, "Well, were your panties drenched from front to back? Was there like just a thin line of really dark red or really bright red? What color was it? So I had to go through all these very emotional moments with a nurse before a doctor came out and told us that there was nothing that they could do. The only thing that they could advise was to come back the next day and see if it was just my body shedding the last remnants of a period that I hadn't gotten, because that happens sometimes, or if it was an actual miscarriage. They were just trying to figure it out. And I didn't hardly sleep that night. We'd made the appointment. It was like bright and early, 8 o'clock. Got up, we went to the hospital, and I really didn't want my mom to come because I didn't want a big show. And they tell me, you still have a baby. I couldn't have been more happy to know that I was still going to be a mom. A mom anyways, because, you're pregnant, period. You're a mom. Even if you never meet the child. And then they proceeded to take us back into a room with the doctor and counseled us on what had happened. And they have a technical term for this. My son, who is going to be 5 in December, he was going to have a twin. But he didn't. It's called vanishing twin syndrome. Body just rejects a pregnancy. Just like if you were to have one single child and you lose it. But in my case, my body decided 2 would not survive. So, it just deleted 1. And the way that it did it was traumatizing. I don't want to have any more kids because I didn't want to go through that again. It was rough. Not only on me, but on Dustin. He thought he did something. We had a motorcycle, and before we found out I was pregnant, we used to ride all the time. And he thought that maybe he, hit a bump too hard and it detached the yoke, so that's why it didn't have a good blood supply, and that's why it basically turned to a blood clot, and then it burst. No one knows exactly why it happens, and it is traumatizing because no one can do anything. You can't stop a miscarriage. You can't stop things like that from happening. You can try, eat good and exercise and, all the other things. Don't eat, a bunch of red meat. Don't eat, things that are high in, mercury. Like some fish are higher in mercury than others. Like, it was terrifying, and I don't wish that on anyone at all, because I thought that I lost my babies, and unfortunately I did lose 1, and I thank God every day that he gave me Eli. And I'm sorry, guys. One day I'm gonna have to tell Eli, because he'll probably, get older, and he loves YouTube. He'll probably run across this and have questions. So it's still hard today. A lot of people that know Dustin and I don't even know this story, because even though we knew and we know that it had nothing to do with what we did, and we never actually heard a heartbeat, or we don't have any imagery. Of Eli's twin. It happened. We don't talk about it because it's just a reminder of how we could have 3 kids. Instead of 2, and the doctor did tell us that if that sac or yolk would have gone past where it went, it could have terminated the entire pregnancy. It would have not only, the twin wouldn't have only died, it would have taken Eli too. So, although we got joy from what eventually came to be Eli, it still sort of haunts me to think that Eli may eventually feel like he's missing a piece of who he is, and
battery, a big battery.
Okay, thank you.
Let me see it on your phone.
You can't see it.
Now I can see it.
Yeah. Let me finish this real fast, and then we'll play, okay?
I can't see a battery. I can't see a battery.
Hey, get down. Although, quit, baby, quit. Although, it was a rough time for me. They told me, quit. Doctors told me, due to this situation, you'll have to be a little more careful when it comes to what you eat and what you do, and things won't be the same for you when it comes to this pregnancy. You're going to be more of a high risk. In a minute. We'll do a video just for you, okay? And that's whenever I was terrified to even leave. Dustin didn't want to go to Kentucky. He wanted to stay home with me and make sure that, I never had to go through that again, because that was terrifying. And then what the doctor was telling us was even more scary, because they said that it could eventually end up with me not being able to have a kid. And the end of all this. Eventually I would have had a kid. But during this pregnancy, it could have gone either way. I could have lost Eli as well. So I went back home and started back at my old job and went back to school, and I was very careful of what I ate and everything. And then I was only allowed, the doctor wrote a note saying that I was only allowed to stand on my feet for up to 4 hours, because it does put a lot of stress on your body when you're pregnant, and then standing and lifting things and bending over and everything like that. So they didn't want to work with me at work, so I quit. They didn't like it. It was a big ordeal, but I had to think about my situation. Did I want to lose this other baby? I had already grown attached to 2, and in the end I only got 1. Did I really want to risk losing the other? And I didn't even take me a second to think about it. I turned in my 2 weeks, and they didn't even put me on the schedule, which was wrong of them. But, I'm here. I have Eli, and then eventually I had Cameron, and, it all worked out. But that's my little sad loss story. Hopefully everyone can relate to, some kind of remnants of that. If you've actually lost a child, from a miscarriage, in possibly a different way than I did, maybe, you won't feel so alone, because it happens a lot more than you wish and hope that it would. And I feel for those women. It's a sad moment for me, and I'm not looking for, people to be sad for me or anything. I got 2 great kids, and I'm glad that God gave me those kids, but I was upset with him for a long time. It took me a long time to finally decide that, I was worthy enough to have another child, because God took the first one. My second child, I didn't ever get to meet that baby. I never got to hold it. I never got to see a heartbeat. And most people would think, well, technically it wasn't even a baby, but to me it was. To Dustin it was. To my mom. To all of my family that knows about this, Those were my babies. And, I did have 1 out of the 2 in that pregnancy, but it still haunts me today to think that I could have had 2, Double the love. And it put me in a really big depression for a long time, and made me never want to have any more kids. I remember Dustin and I don't know, Eli was nearly a year old, and condom broke, and I was terrified. I called my mom. We didn't have much money, especially after paying bills and stuff, and I was so terrified that I went to Walmart and got a morning after pill because I had it set in my mind that this would happen again if I got pregnant again. It took me a long time to realize that it may not happen, but there was still that thought in my head, especially when I got pregnant with Cameron. I didn't want anything to happen to her. I was so terrified. That's just for another story. It's hard enough knowing that I lost a baby, a piece of me, in a sense, because it scared me to the point where I was only going to have Eli. Period. End of story. No more kids. Dustin didn't like that. He wanted, another baby. He wanted at least 2, and it was just, it's still rough on me. I still think on Eli's birthday, I could be celebrating 2 kids on this day. And I only have 1. I'm grateful for that, but it's still hard to accept. Anyway, this is a little bit longer than I intended, so I'm going to get off here. And I love you guys. Hope you like this. Share it with your friends. Kind of bring a little bit of awareness to vanishing twin syndrome. It's a real thing. It's not something a lot of people talk about because it sounds crazy. It does. I didn't believe it in the beginning whenever someone told me, the doctor tells me this is what happened to you, but it's real. Anyways, like, share, subscribe, turn on the notifications. I post every Friday. These are some raw, life stories from me. Hopefully you guys will hear this, maybe cry with me. I really didn't want to cry on camera, but it's an emotional subject. And anyways, love you guys. See y'all next week.